Hi guys, Togro here with a new video, and this video will be my should you main rogue in World of Warcraft Dragonflight PvP. We are going to discuss about the class tree, the specs, and also in depth about the things that are going to go away and coming back to the class, and also the few things that you are going to win from Shadowlands and a few things that you are going to lose from Shadowlands. Now, I must say that my preferred spec is Assassination, so it might transpire in this video whenever I'm going to talk about Assassination and then talking about Outlaw and Subtlety, but it doesn't mean that Outlaw and Subtlety are bad, it just means that I'm preferring Assassination. But I'm going to talk with facts, or at least what you should expect by maining Outlaw and Subtlety Rogue. But let's start with the class tree. And the class tree is stacked. You can really enjoy and make the build however you would see it fit. Of course, this is not the best build out there, I guess, because I'm testing a lot, especially in a PvP solo shuffle. And we still have Sepsis, for example, with Soul Shape as Night Fae in PvP, which is a shame because you can't really test the kits by themselves, but it is what it is. And class tree, I would say that it is very balanced in the way where you can lose a few things by going for other things. Now let's talk about a few things that are going back for rogues. So you have Cold Blood, which is a fantastic ability, so you can actually test and be reliable. If you want to do a 100% crit on Envenom, it is possible to do. If you feel like, look, I need to crit this because it will do 30k, or if it's not critting, I will do 15k. Like, look, 30k on someone that has 90k HP or 95k HP, it does do a lot, you know? So that's why Cold Blood could be interesting for you guys to play around. You also have Subtlety coming back from back in the day, but now improved because you get 100 energy, but also mastery increased by 13.6% for 6 seconds. So you can again control your burst if you so desire, and you have 3 charges with a 1 minute CD. So that's actually kind of nice. I think there is a bit of flavor. I don't know if a lot of people are going to play around that, but there is a possibility where you can. You also play with Seal of Fate, which is also something that is actually very interesting, because as an Assassination rogue, Seal of Fate is something very valuable because you want to do more finishers with less spenders, and with Subtlety rogues, they already have that pretty much baked in. But now with Seal of Fate, you can have even more combo points with just melee attacks. I think you need to have that as Subtlety rogue if you want to do the combo generation like as fast as possible. I think most players will go to Seal of Fate, and then you have like Subtlety rogues wanting to go Shadowlands, and pretty much that's it. But we will see, however, it will actually grow in Dragonflight, right? Pre of the week, prey on the week, something that is easily taken. You will need to sacrifice a few things, but it seems like really you can have that with every spec. You also have Blackjack, again a reduction on damage done, but also healing, and that's actually quite nice because you can really ruin some CDs just because you sapped the right target and keep on sapping him when you're shadow dancing. So you can really do some good things. You have blind, pretty easy access. You get gouge, which is something new for Assassination and Subtlety rogue since the end of times, really. It has been always a outlaw ability since Legion, and now that you have it back, I feel like you have a lot more CC, and again a lot more disruption. Evasion still very soon on the talent tree, so you can really do whatever you want with those talents. You get a choice between elusiveness and cheat death. I feel like cheat death is quite nice on the P-patch because there is a lot of one-shot mechanics, and especially if you're playing solo shuffle, sometimes the healer is CC'd or they are dreaming or whatever. It's always nice to have cheat death with also soothing darkness, so you can actually vanish and get healing back onto you. So I feel like that's a good combination. I think if you're playing 3v3 or 2v2, elusiveness is probably better just in general. You get a lot of great things Assassination, right? Because you get faster moving in stealth. You get again subterfuge coming back, but also good things like Night Stalker. And it also is something that is always going to be nice whenever you're starting with Garrote, of course. Having Tide Spender, also very nice. Your finishing moves are actually very cheap. Like for example, Kidney Shot being 18 energy as an Assassination Rogue, and also having Control is King is very big as a PvP talent. And I'm going to discuss about it afterwards, whenever I'm done with the class tree. You have a lot of great things, like for example, numbing poison if you're playing versus casters. It will always help you somehow, some way. Atrophic poison, I feel like it's not very strong. It gives you a little wall, basically. I don't think it is warranted to actually put it on your weapons, but if you want to play around that, you can. I guess versus bosses or raid bosses, it could be interesting. It's an extra buff that you can actually apply in PvE, but in PvP, you will need like either a slow or a slow casting ability on your non-lethal poison. Improved wound poison is quite nice for, let's say, outlaw and subtlety rogues. I would say an assassination rogue will probably play with just the hemotoxin, and since you have easily a second stack of shiv, it's actually very nice to play around that. You also have vigor quite soon on the tree, so you will have more energy, and your energy regeneration will be even faster, so that's also very fun to have. Alacrity is still a thing, and Marked for Death is also a thing. You can have the Kirin ability if you want to play Kirin-ish gameplay. You can have Echoing Reprimand, but I feel like it's very deep into the middle tree where it's not as easy to get, because you need to spend 2 points into versatility, which is a great stat, but it's only a stat stick compared to, let's say, increasing critical strike chance on your generating combo, like your builders, or Night Stalker, which is basically a 8% more damage all over the place. So I don't know about Thieves versatility. Acrobatic strikes might be very interesting. I think it will be very meta to play around depending on the comps. And again, you will have to go even further to get echoing reprimand and then the improved resounding clarity, because there is no reason to play with echoing reprimand if it's only to take this. I think you will have to take the legendary effect to actually have a better time with it. Shadowlands is pretty much open for every spec, and Find Weakness might be something that is going to be very interesting for, let's say, subtlety rogues, but mostly about outlaw rogues, because a outlaw rogue does physical damage mostly, and a assassination rogue is more about nature damage, so you don't really need Find Weakness. So that's why you would not go for Shadowlands as an assassination rogue, in my opinion. Of course, I'm not really a rogue expert, but I do like to play assassination rogues, especially in the pre-patch, where I feel like there is a lot of great things going on for that spec. Alright, let's talk about Assassination Rogue, the spec tree. And I must say I'm very surprised on the direction they are going. There's a obvious thing at the end of the talent tree. You'll see that you will have difficulties to actually pick 2 keystones, like capstones. It will be possible because you will have 5 extra points, but you will have to spend probably on the right side. The middle side is pretty much all or nothing. You will have to spend 2 points into Poison Bomb, which is something that is actually great because it's 10% chance per combo point spent to smash a vial, pretty much a 50% if you're doing a envenom at 5 points. And it does some alright damage, but also you will have to spend 3 more points to dash in Scoundrel, which is again something interesting to have. But Dragon Tempered Blades is something super nice to just play with, but you will have to spend so many points to get it that you will have to abandon another capstone. So you will either not play with King's Bane, or you will not play with Indiscriminate Carnage. So you will have to lose a lot to get a extra lethal and non-lethal. Will it be worth it to do? I don't know. I feel like there is a world where you can play with amplifying poison. So with this, which is amplifying the damage of envenom. So can consume 10 stacks of amplification to deal 35% increased damage, and envenom does crit for a lot. If you're on mastery build, you can crit up to 30k on the pre-patch, even more I think, because I have really little gear, and it can be fun to play around. And then you can have deadly poison as well, but I can't really test it on pre-patch because you only have 5 points to spend, and poison bomb and dashing scoundrel is already 5 points, so there is that. But you can play with deadly poison and with amplifying poison, which makes actually a lot of poison damage, a lot of poison amplifying effects. And then you can play with 2 non-lethals. So I would say like maybe crippling poison, and then maybe you would have taken the numbing poison. Then it's quite nice because the caster will be like super immobile, but also super slow to cast spells. So there is a world where you could play with that, but Kingsbane is such a great ability. It is coming back. Does a lot of damage. It is amplified with your death mark, but also if you're playing with sepsis, which is probably what you're going to do if you are like it's level 70, you will go for sepsis or for serrated bone spike, but I would say sepsis, and you will improve even more the damage of Kingsbane plus sepsis with Shiv. And Shiv is something, again, it is going to improve your nature damage, but you also get an additional charge, so you'll have actual control on your amount of healing reduction you are going to apply to the enemy team, but also how you're going to have the burst rotation, so you don't really need to wait every time 25 seconds to burst. You could really do Shiv, burst, and then re-Shiv and continue that burst into the bigger envenoms at the end of the mark, right? But there is a way where you could do some big damage. Deathmark is actually replacing Vendetta, and I'm all for it. I think it's very fun to play around. It's a 2-minute CD. It looks long, but very, very appreciated because it does a lot of damage. By itself, it does some bleed damage, but I think the duplication of lethal poisons, Garrote and Rupture, can't really do a lot of damage as a whole to the enemy team. To the comp, to the healer will probably have to blow CDs, and you still have your Kingsbane and your Sepsis to actually do work on the second go, or you utilize it on the first go, they use CDs, and then you go for a death mark, and pretty much they are dead if they cannot respond on it. You still have internal bleeding, which is super high on the tree. You get double shadow step, which is something very, very noticeable whenever you're playing Assassination Rogue. You will be more mobile. It will be more fun to actually stick to the targets. That was one of the problems for Assassination Rogues whenever they are doing a shadow step and they are going away. You're pretty much trying to catch up, and it's very hard, especially versus a few comps like, let's say, a Restoration Shaman that can push you or lasso you. Shadow step will be very, very noticeable and very, very appreciated by the spec. Venomous Wounds again coming back. You have also Venom Rush, and you have Alacrity. So you have a lot of great things like baked into the spec to get a lot more energy. And I think it really flows well. And you have also a lot of choices to make. You can also take Exsanguinate. You can combine it with Deathmark, so it does even more damage, like Burst. You can also play with Doomblade, which was the legendary, which is something very noticeable too over duration of a match. And I don't know, man, I'm very happy with their decisions. You also have a Garrote build where Garrote will do some insane amounts of damage. Like the build I'm trying on Soul Shuffle, because I played a lot of Soul Shuffle with this spec, it was more of an ambush mutilate build where I do a lot of great envenom damage. By the way, I play with amplifying poison instead of deadly poison, and it really feels alright. Yes, you will miss some consistent damage from your deadly poison, but amplifying poison, making your envenoms actually very, very scary, makes it also very noticeable whenever you're going for a Shiv and Venom go with a Mark for Death kidney on their enemy team. And Kingsbane, like I said, something very funny to play around, and I'm very glad that it came back. But it's a 1-minute CD, so you can basically do a Kingsbane go, and people will use CDs, and then you can do a Deathmark go with everything up, and you can probably score a kill. You can also have a legendary, which is Tiny Toxic Blade for Shiv doing damage and also no longer costing energy, you could play that. I think it is possible at level 70 to choose to take Tiny Toxic Blade. It will make your Shiv actual like the same kinds of damage as Envenom, I would say, without Shiv damage, without improving the nature damage of Shiv. But it's physical, right? So you can't really improve it with nature damage. But if you want to play with it, it is a possibility. You can also still play a Fan of Knives build. Personally, I would not do that, but you can still. And if we talk about PvP talents real quick, you have still the normal talents like Smoke Bomb, Dismantle, Maneuverability, Hemotoxin, which is still a very big PvP talent. But now you have also Control is King, and Control is King is actually something very, very good for Assassination Rogues, because whenever you're going for a kidney shot, you actually don't really want to spend energy on kidney shot. So restoring 40 energy per combo point spent, I would say it's a 50 energy points actually per combo point spent. So if you spend 5 combo points, you will get 50 energy. It is quite noticeable because then you can actually do a kidney shot go even though you are low on energy. So you can actually do pressure whenever they feel like they're safe. And at that moment, whenever they feel safe, it is the most dangerous moment for them to actually live, because a kidney shot can really end their career, I would say. So I like to play with that instead of smoke bomb in solo shuffle. But so smoke bomb, I can understand why it is very strong, especially in solo shuffle, because again, clouding the people away from your target is very, very interesting. But I feel like on the Dragonflight expansion, a lot of healers can actually heal out of line of sight. Like let's say a paladin can still walk themselves and actually heal them with Light of Dawn. So there is also a possibility with that. And restoration shamans can heal with totems. It works on them too. And they have a lot of CDs to actually prevent from someone to actually die in a smoke bomb. A restoration druid has tranquility, or they can actually pre-hot the target, so they are still safe, for example. So smoke bomb is something very good, but I feel like again now you have more choices. You can play around control is king and make it a lot more fun for you guys to actually spend those kidney shots even though you have no energy. So I think it's alright. Also, if you're doing a sheep shot, at least you get slice and dice, so you get rewarded for doing a sheep shot. While it's not always a possibility to do, because you will not be stealth most of the time, and you don't play with Shadow Dance. So let's talk about last point about Assassination Rogue. You have Blindside, which is something very fun. I like ambush. I like ambush doing damage, so I like to play with that. It also does 20% damage as nature, so it will be improved with Shiv. And again, it's noticeable. And Garrote is improving damage of ambush and mutilate, and ambushing someone for 10k is something that you will notice in the match. It is still a builder, but that builder does now some okay damage, right? I would suggest to main Assassination Rogue. It's a very fun spec if you like Rogue spec, if you like to be more of a bursty or damage dealer dot DPS, you can play Assassination. They have multiple builds. You have a dot build, you can also play an Envenom build. You can play a very disruptive build, which is more about slowing the enemy team and doing a lot of damage with poisons and with nature damage. There's a bit of everything for them, for people that really like Assassination Rogues. And I would suggest to main Assassination Rogues if you mained it in Shadowlands, and if you didn't main it in Shadowlands but you played it in Classic or whatever, I feel like Assassination Rogues is the closest to Classic than any other spec. I might be wrong on that, but that's how I feel whenever I'm playing Assassination Rogue. So let's talk about Outlaw. Outlaw Rogue is more of a brawler, in my opinion. Heavy on CC. Sometimes you have a lot of damage, sometimes you don't. For me, I didn't really find a build where I was like, I need to build it different. Because again, I don't know what is actually feeling alright as Outlaw Rogue, because I'm not really maining one. But I do understand why people still like to play Outlaw Rogue, because you still have Blinding Powder. Again, Blind is such a big ability for Outlaw Rogues. You still play around Rule the Bones with Sleight of Hand. Float Like a Butterfly is now a talent instead of a PvP talent. So that's quite big for them. Loaded dice is, again, if you're having a adrenaline rush, your next roll the bones will grant at least 2 matches. So it can even grant you more matches, but at least 2 are granted to you. You also can play Killing Spree if you would like. I tested, it doesn't do a lot of damage, in my opinion, PvP. And again, you still have the same problems as a Wrath of the Lich King Rogue, where Killing Spree can just jump on any target. Dreadblades, something that is still very fun to play around. I didn't really test it this time around because I wanted to test Killing Spree in solo shuffle, but you can make it work, again, doing a lot of damage, doing a lot of finishers with your dispatch, with your between the eyes, and kidney shot in general. You have Fan Hammer, again, making you more damage with pistol shots, more damage with Sinister Strike, or at least you're building with Sinister Strike and you can expand it with your pistol shot. And then you have Greenskin Swickers, the legendary, which is a fan favorite actually. People didn't really like to play the Vanish Lego, but the Vanish Lego was something necessary to actually compete with the meta. And Greenskin Swickers is actually very fun because you will do a lot of great pistol shot damage in general. You have Adrenaline Rush. I feel like you have a lot of talents that you are probably not going to play, or where you weren't really playing. Like, for example, Weapon Master. So Sinister Strike has a 5% increased chance to strike an additional time. That's something very fun to play around. You can also play about AoE, so you can also have a Blade Flurry talent section, I would say. You have also improved between the eyes, so whenever you're doing a crit with between the eyes, it will do 4 times the damage, the normal damage. So it's, again, noticeable, but you will have to sacrifice a bit more talents for that. Dirty tricks is something that is actually very good to have, because you will have to spend a lot of CC to the enemy team, and having no cost on that CC is actually very noticeable in game, because then you can just go into the offense directly instead of just waiting for that energy to pop up, you know. So I would say the right side is more about AoE and more PvE oriented. The left side is more about ambushes and actually doing damage with ambush, with procs. So whenever your Sinister Strike procs something, or something procs for Sinister Strike, it will do for ambush, and vice versa. Everything that you're going to do with ambush will also proc as if you're using a Sinister Strike. I tested it in PvP. I didn't really like it. I understand why it could be nice, but I think you will need more talent points to make it alive. And in pre-patch for now, I don't think the ambush playstyle is something that you should go for. But I can understand why people would play that specific build. You have an adrenaline rush, roll the bones-ish playstyle at the middle. I think keep it rolling is not usable in PvP because it's over 5 minutes CD, and everything over 5 minutes is not usable in PvP. And yeah, I mean, I think they do lose some things, like the Vanish Lego is lost. You can't really play like Venthyr, so there's no Venthyr burst anymore for combat rogues, or for outlaw rogues, excuse me. You can go Kyrian, but you will have to spend your points in the middle tree for your rogue spec. So I don't know if you're going to do that, because maybe you would like to have more defined weakness and the marked for death or deeper stratagem. But yeah, it's a bit hard. You have deeper stratagem like baked into the spec tree, which is easily gettable because you have deeper stratagem here. And it is after ruthlessness, which is something that you will always go for, I think. So you can have 7 combo points if you so desire, but I don't know if it's better than Mark for Death, or if it's worse than Mark for Death. So should you main Outlaw Rogue? So in my opinion, Outlaw Rogues is still very strong. It is still going to be a contender for meta, because there's a lot of CC possibilities. It is still very tanky. I think what's good in Shadowlands is not really nerfed, it's just taken away, And what's bad about Shadowlands Outlaw Rogues, they still are here, right? You still a class that needs to play around CC, a class that needs to actually enable themselves with CC to actually do a lot of damage. It is a dampening spec otherwise. Um, I would suggest to play Outlaw Rogues if you liked Outlaw Rogues in Shadowlands, because it is not that different. I just feel like you're losing like the 7-second kidney shots. You're losing that, for example, with the trinket set for next expansion. So I don't know if you're going to enjoy in Dragonflight, but I think it is still the same. So if you like that sort of rogue gameplay, which is more about swords or at least more brawler-ish, I would suggest to play Outlaw Rogue. But else, I would then suggest to play another spec, which is probably going to be Subtlety Rogue. And Subtlety Rogue is one of those specs that are going to be enabled at level 70 because you have more talent points to spend. But I think there is an interesting thing to talk about. You can still have a lot of those covenant abilities on your tree. So you have flagellation, which is the Venthyr one, which is going to be very good if you want to go for one shots, or you can go for sepsis, which again does some dot damage, and whenever it is proccing, it does also quite a lot of damage whenever it's ending without killing the target. And having a extra stealth ability for free can always be nice for some opportunities. I don't know if everyone is going to play sepsis or if everyone is going to play flagellation, but the options are there. You have a evisceration, like an eviscerate build if you would like to play around that at the right side, which is also around rupture damage, and just in general, just dot and finisher damage. You have also the left side, which is more revolved around like builders. So you have the left side, which is builders. Right side is about spenders, and the middle side is more about shadow dance damage, and shadow dance doing more improved damage for you and versus the enemy. So there is still a possibility to choose there. I think there's a possibility where you can have 2 capstones, not 3, which is still very good because you have a choice between left side and right side, depending on if you want to play around eviscerate doing more damage, or if you want to do backstab and shadow strike like great amounts of damages. You can also play with Gloomblade. I think that will be probably good versus warriors or high physical armor targets. I think it's something that is going to be noticeable over a period of time, because if you don't have armor penetration baked into it with find weakness, I think it will not do as much damage just in general. Um, I think you are not losing a lot, right? You can have March for Death with deeper stratagem, so you have the flexibility to actually do a kidney shot whenever you want because you have March for Death, and then you have the increased damage on your combo points. You still have the possibility to play with Echoing Reprimand, but I would suggest to go for Resounding Clarity. But that's why I'm telling you guys, Subtlety might be a lot better just because of the levels that you're going to get. Level 70, you will get 5 extra points on the class tree and 5 extra points on the spec tree, which gives you more points to spend on those interesting talents, like for example, Deeper Daggers, Finality, and Dark Brew might do it for the Subtlety Rogues. But you also will have Resounding Clarity, for example, 2 points in Alacrity, March for Death, and then you have 1 point to spend elsewhere. Like I would spend it maybe on Blackjack. So, or maybe improve wound poison. So you have a lot of like great opportunities to do more damage as a Subtlety Rogue. I don't know if it's really going to be this way for the expansion, because again, numbers will be tweaked. It will be better or it will be worse. But playstyle, I think nothing is going to change from Shadowlands. So if you liked Subtlety Rogues from Shadowlands, it is a improved version that you are going to get in Dragonflight playstyle wise. But I think the CC nerfs all over the board will affect Subtlety and Outlaw the most. And depending on how you want to play it, I think subtlety rogues are still going to be very special for a lot of rogues, so I think you should main a subtlety rogue if you like that playstyle. Or if you like more of an assassination playstyle where you're playing about dots, where you're playing about big envenom crits, or just being on the enemy team all the time, you can just go for assassination rogue and then main that spec. The good thing is about rogues is you have 3 distinctive specs where you can enjoy your time. If you don't like assassination, chances are you're going to love outlaw or subtlety, and vice versa. Now, if you don't like a melee, which is stealthed, which is more like glass cannony, if you're playing assassination or subtlety rogue, or more about a brawler that is actually dampening you over time, like an outlaw rogue, then again, there's a lot of classes where you can find a home, but I think rogues is such a specific class where you should actually know if you want to play a rogue or not. The comps are varied. You can really do a lot of great things with rogues depending on the specs that you're playing. I think it is worth to main rogues because rogues are notoriously always good in any meta. You have a lot of comps that you can play. You can play Scooby-Doo Cleave. You can play still, I think you can still play double outlaw on Dragonflight. I would not do that, but you can. You can play rogue mage. Again, if you have a mage friend and a disc priest, you're going to do great in trees. In solo shuffle, your shadowy duel as a subtlety rogue is very big, and I don't know how many games I saw people win with just that one ability. I mean, although it costs 50 energy, it is really noticeable because you can just kidney shot to get that energy back with control is king, and you can do some big amounts of damage in that mean time. So again, thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate you. Hopefully you learned something about rogues today. I'm not the most informative rogue player out there. I just played for fun assassination rogue in solo shuffle, and I really enjoy it. I think it's dumb fun, and people might just feel like rogues are very fun. I can understand why people would roll rogues in Dragonflight. So thank you for watching. Have a great day. We will catch each other next with a next video talking about mages. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.